his girlfriend that his head was just hurting. His head was hurting, that the police had jumped on him. That Anthony Fox had jumped on him down there in Washington Edition. That's what they call it, Washington Edition on the west side. So at that time, she went down the hall to get something for him to take. And she said when she got back, he was virgin. She called me. I said, call the ambulance. So by the time the ambulance came, they were rushing him to the hospital. By the time I got up there, they was rushing him into surgery. So he stayed in the surgery for 2 days. 2 days later, he died. And what he died was from blunt force trauma to the head, homicide. March 5th, 2023. That's like 6 blocks from my house, that freeway. Like 6 blocks from my house. So Dexter did not return. Dexter left home on March 5th. I did not hear from him. So about 3 days, my sister-in-law called me and said, it's unusual for Dexter to be gone this long. So I said, well, okay, we'll give him a few more days. March the 14th, I called Jackson Police Department and filed a missing person report. They told me to send them Dexter's picture, his name, and all his information. They got it. They signed me an investigator. The investigator called me and said he would be the one helping me with Dexter case. So as I was hearing things, I was telling the detective. So I asked them, I said, have y'all checked the morgue? Have y'all checked the hospital? They said, well, the morgue, he's not in the morgue. But the hospital, we can't go to the hospital because that's a protocol for them.
All right. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. All praises to the Most High. The lady that you just heard is Miss Bettersten Wade. Miss Wade is the mother of Dexter Wade and also the sister of George Robinson. Now, Dexter Wade was the young man who was hit by a Jackson, Mississippi police officer and buried in a pauper's grave until his mother kept investigating and finally turned up his body. And he was hit by an off-duty police officer in 2023. Her brother, George Robinson, was the victim of police brutality, as you heard her say, blunt force trauma to the head, and was killed by this guy, Anthony Fox. And Anthony Fox was convicted but later released. So I am going to let her tell both stories. First of her brother, George Robinson, whom you see on the screen, and next of that of her son, Dexter Wade. But first, let me play this news article that gives you sort of a backstory on what really happened to George Robinson.
Today, after this verdict was handed down, even Fox was in disbelief himself and kept expressing that he's innocent and did nothing wrong. Tonight, in an exclusive interview, one of Fox's attorneys maintains his innocence.
We, the jury, find the defendant Anthony Fox guilty of culpable negligence manslaughter.
This is the verdict issued by 12 jurors saying Anthony Fox is responsible for killing 62-year-old George Robinson. Emotions were so high following that decision that one person had to be led out of the courthouse by deputies. It's a verdict that has Fox's attorney at a loss for words.
We're not pleased with the verdict. We don't feel like the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Officer Fox did anything wrong, and we will be appealing.
This all dates back to January of 2019, when Robinson died after receiving multiple blunt injuries to the head. 2 other former Jackson police officers, Lincoln Lampley and Desmond Barney, were also charged and later cleared of murder charges in Robinson's death in May of 2021.
We never understood why he was put into this courtroom to begin with. Usually when you have 3 defendants similarly situated like that, they go to the same court. We don't know why that happened, but we know the other 2 were found not guilty, actually acquitted by the judge with lack of evidence. We don't know how this happened, honestly. I have no clue.
This is video of the scene from 2019. According to investigators, police approached Robinson while they were in the area looking for a murder suspect. All three men were accused of removing Robinson from his vehicle, body slamming him on his head, as well as striking and kicking him multiple times in the head and chest. However, Fox's attorney, Francis Springer, is adamant that his client did not commit a crime.
Jurors obviously didn't understand what happened, and I don't know why. They have a job to do, and I understand that, and I respect that, but I definitely disagree with the jury.
Now, again, Springer says they will appeal today's decision. Fox will be back in the courtroom in the next 2 weeks for sentencing. We've reached out to the district attorney's office for a comment following today's verdict. At this time, we are still waiting to hear back. Quentin Smith, 3 on your side.
Okay, so there you have the news clip telling you and explaining what happened. But now I'm going to let Bettersten Wade, George Robinson's sister, tell you exactly what happened from that night of the incident, as well as the court case and the subsequent overturning of Anthony Fox's conviction. All right, peace and blessings. I am here with Bettersten Wade, and she is the sister and also the mother of 2 black men who suffered their demise at the hands of police violence. So thank you for allowing me to get your story to the audience, Ms. Wade. And this happened in Mississippi, correct?
Yes.
Well, what city? What city?
Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay, Jackson, Mississippi is the capital. So which incident happens first?
My brother George Robinson.
Okay, George Robinson, and give us a little bit about the situation with your brother. What year did it happen?
It was happening in 2019 on January 13th, my birthday, never forget. Okay. My brother was getting ready to have he had a stroke. Well, I'm going to go back. He had a stroke about 2 weeks before, and he hadn't been out the house or anything in about 2 or 3 weeks. And he was going to have a little get together at his house where he actually lived at. But he was at my mom's house trying to, get himself back together from having a stroke. So he was like having a little slightness in his right side that he slurred where he had to drag his foot and couldn't move it too good. So they was going to give him a little bitty get together barbecue, because he had came back to his home. Mm-hmm. So he went to the store. And at the time he was pulling back up, the NBI men was out there looking for a boy that had killed a pastor earlier that morning. And they was out there because they heard that he was on Jones Street at the time in Jackson, Mississippi. So my brother pulled up, had went to the store, pulled back up in front of his house. The NBI guy, Anthony Fox, jumped out and said he saw my brother make a drug transaction. So he went up to my brother's car and he gave my brother a command. So my brother said, Fox, you know me, it's nothing going on, But he gave the girl some change to buy a soda. So he reached in his pocket, gave her some change to buy a soda. So at that time, he kept pushing the issue for my brother to get out the car. So my brother was getting ready. I guess he reached over with the left hand to unbuckle the seatbelt. And by the time he unbuckled the seatbelt, Anthony had hit him in the head with a flashlight several times. Then he hollered out a command. One of his fellow blue came over and helped him assist my brother out of the car, slammed him to the ground. So at the process of time, the girl that he said he did the transaction with, she done went on. She done went on about her business, not doing anything. They didn't go after her or try to assist her, try to get her. So at that time, they pulled my brother out the car, slammed him to the ground, and they said my brother was scuffling, trying to get something in his mouth, drugs. But after they did all that, they did not find no drugs. They did not find anything in his car. They searched his car, they found nothing. Called the ambulance because they say he had a little stretch. He had a stretch up on top of his head. So the ambulance came. Anthony Fox told him to put a patch up there and they could leave. So that's what they did. They put a patch on his head and they left. After then, they said he resisted arrest, and anytime you resist arrest, you automatically supposed to go to jail. But they field released him. So when they field released him, they wouldn't let him stay at his house. They told him he had to get in his car, he had to leave. At that time, he got in his car and he went to Mustang Inn on Highway 80 where his girlfriend lived. Mm-hmm. So when he got out the car, he had a slur to him and he stumbled up in the room. Then he had to stumble back out. I guess he left something in the car. And so he started telling his girlfriend that his head was just hurting. His head was hurting, that the police had jumped on him. That Anthony Fox had jumped on him down there in Washington Edition. That's what they call it, Washington Edition on the west side. So at that time, she went down the hall to get something for him to take. And she said when she got back, he was virgin. She called me. I said, call the ambulance. So by the time the ambulance came, they were rushing him to the hospital. By the time I got up there, they was rushing him into surgery. So he stayed in the surgery for 2 days. 2 days later, he died. And what he died was from blunt force trauma to the head, homicide. Went to talk the autopsy with the state. They said blunt force trauma to the head. That was what he died from. Blunt force trauma to the head. Anthony Fox, they convicted, they put all three on manslaughter, second-degree manslaughter. The first two, Faye Peterson, let them out because they said couldn't nobody put them at the scene of the crime. This after 2.5 years went by. Said nobody could put them at the scene of the crime. And she let them go with no prejudice. Anthony Fox came up on trial, found him guilty, stayed in jail 1 year and 6 months. Our AG, Lynn Fitch, I have to call her name, Lynn Fitch, took it to the Supreme Court, overturned the conviction. Let Anthony Fox get out, and they ended up paying him $75,000 for being in jail for unlawfully convicted.
So how long did they sentence him for before they let him out?
They sentenced 20 years, which that was 20 years, but they suspended all of them except 5.
Okay.
He was 5 to be in jail and 5 on paper when he got out.
So he didn't even do the whole 5.
He didn't even do the whole 5. They didn't even let him stay in there for the whole 5. So we still injustice. We still haven't got justice. We still fighting for justice. And I'll always be fighting for justice for George Robinson. And after that, March the 5th, 2023, Dexter Wade got hit by a police cruiser that's supposed to have been off duty. So he hit him on the freeway.
All right, so there you heard Miss Bettersten Wade tell the story of her brother, George Robinson, who was killed by the police. He saw Anthony Fox was convicted, but later the Attorney General, Lynn Fitch, overturned the conviction and allowed him to walk free before serving the totality of his 5-year sentence. So next she's going to go right into the death of her son, Dexter Wade, who was hit by a Jackson, Mississippi police officer. Then his body was hid in a pauper's grave behind the jail for quite some time until his mother's relentless pressure uncovered the location of her son's body. But before she tells it, I'm going to give you a little insight on what the news said about the story.
Troy, I'm here at the Jackson Police Department where the family of Dexter Wade rallied outside earlier today. They're still searching for answers and demanding accountability from JPD.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
It's been almost 2 years since Dexter Wade's death, and his family is still searching for what happened to him. Authorities said Wade was walking near Interstate 55 and McDowell Road in March when he was hit by a Jackson Police Department vehicle. According to police, they were not able to identify Wade at the time of the crash. However, the Hinds County Coroner's Office was able to identify him from medication found in his pocket. Wade's mother, Bettersten Wade Robinson, says there are still many missing pieces of the puzzle.
No justice because we don't even know who or what. So, I mean, somebody hit him. Then no car hit him when nobody hit it. So what we looking for is justice.
And they deserve somebody to step up and give them an answer. That's right. All they ask for some justice. How her son ended up in there, doesn't she deserve the answers?
Chief Joseph Wade says he has updated and created new policies within the department to prevent things like this from happening again.
We updated our missing persons policy, which was a 20-year-old policy. We updated it to make sure that we are doing the best practices as it relates to locating missing persons here in the city of Jackson.
Also, for the first time, a death notification policy.
That's very important to me as we move forward. I want us to be effective. I want us to be efficient as we police, and more importantly, as we serve this community.
Wade says they are working with the U.S. Department of Justice to help them revise current policies and police training moving forward. The lawsuit against the Jackson Police Department is still ongoing. I'm live at JPD headquarters. Kennedy Cooper, 16 WAPT.
All right, so there you see the news is gloss over our report of the incident, and unfortunately there is a black police chief, ironically with the last name of Wade, almost kind of glossing over it as well. But we're going to let Miss Wade tell you the intricate details of how and what happened to her son, and how it is a, once again, continued miscarriage of justice. March the 5th, 2023. That's when he got hit.
That's when he got hit.
Okay.
March 5th, 2023. That's like 6 blocks from my house, that freeway. Like 6 blocks from my house. So Dexter did not return. Dexter left home on March 5th. I did not hear from him. So about 3 days, my sister-in-law called me and said, it's unusual for Dexter to be gone this long. So I said, well, okay, we'll give him a few more days. March the 14th, I called Jackson Police Department and filed a missing person report. They told me to send them Dexter's picture, his name, and all his information. They got it. They signed me an investigator. The investigator called me and said he would be the one helping me with Dexter Cade. So as I was hearing things, I was telling the detective. So I asked them, I said, have y'all checked the morgue? Have y'all checked the hospital? They said, well, the morgue, he's not in the morgue. But the hospital, we can't go to the hospital because that's a protocol for them. Okay, and then I said, well, did you check anywhere his last seen? I told him who house he was at, the last to seen him. I said, y'all in the boy that he left with. I said, did y'all talk to him? I told him his name and everything. So they said they went over there to see Jordan, but he wasn't at the house that I sent him to, that somebody crazy was out there, and he jumped all up on the police car, and they wasn't going to risk their life. So, okay. Right about 5 or 6 months had went by, and I kept calling back and forth every week, every 2 weeks, trying to see how they found it.
And you have filed a missing person report.
I filed a missing person report. And they kept saying they hadn't found nothing, he ain't in the morgue, no. So then, after then, the guy called me in July, the end of July, and said, I am retiring. Somebody else will handle your case. So about August the 14th, it's a lady called me named Colin. She said, I will be taking over the investigation for Dexter Wade. She said, Ms. Wade, I'm going to help you find your son. I said, okay. So around about August the 24th, she called me and she said, I found your son. I said, where that boy at? And then she said, I sent someone out there to talk to you. She sent an investigator out there to talk to me. And the time he said, I am sorry for your loss. My mom, I was so upset. My mom said, could I ask you what happened to him? He said a police cruiser hit him on the freeway, and that he was off duty, and he hit him on the freeway and killed him as an accident. So, okay, I started asking him, well, why y'all didn't take the handprints and all this different stuff? Why y'all didn't put him on civil alert where maybe somebody could have known him? Okay, they wouldn't even put him on civil alert. They wouldn't even do any of that. So the guy said, well, you have to talk to the coroner. He can tell you more. I called the coroner, and I was going off on the coroner. The coroner said, hold it, Miss Wade. We knew who Dexter Wade was the first night we encountered him. So we knew who he was. Said he had a pill bottle in his pocket. He had a pill bottle in his pocket. And that told the identity of him. So we knew who he was. So okay, then I said, well, where he at? They buried him. They buried him on July the 14th. They took him and buried him on July the 14th. After they knew I was looking for him.
On July the 14th.
On July the 14th.
But he got hit.
He got hit on March the 5th.
So where did they keep him for all those
He was
months?
in the morgue all this time. He was in the morgue all this time.
Okay.
He was in the morgue all this time. And so July the 14th, the supervisors of the state, they gave them the permission to bury him in a pauper's grave. And I asked them, I said, well, what graveyard? They said, somewhere down there by Raymond. They could nobody tell me. 2 months went by before I could even find out where he was buried at. So I finally talked to a lady. She said, I asked her, I said, is Dexter Wade is in that grave? She said, yes. And so that's how I found my son. He was in a pauper's grave behind the county jail. And he was 672. Didn't even have his name on the grave.
So they had a number.
They had a number, 672. 672 people was buried in that grave before him. Was down there in that grave. So we don't know how many of them people is illegally buried without anybody knowing, family knowing. So they couldn't go back for 215 for us to identify. And we had a whole bunch to identify they loved ones.
Did a lot of people come out to identify their loved ones? All in Jackson.
All in Jackson. Well, it's not in Jackson. It's in Raymond, Mississippi, but it's Hinds County.
But
that's where they take you to jail.
But was all the people from that area and had
no,
been missing?
These people was like from Chicago.
Wow.
It was like from Brandon. A lot of them was like from, some people were from out of state. All of them were from Mississippi. Because they had came through Jackson. Some Louisiana, the woman come from Louisiana, found they were just coming through Jackson and
what was happening to them? How were they dying? How was most of them dying?
Well, see, everybody dropped the ball. Nobody would look for their loved one. After they wouldn't give them no information, I guess everybody just said, well, he just went off. I guess because maybe they had been going off or whatever. But my son don't go off unless he told me.
So how did you find out how your son got hit?
The police officer.
Okay. They told you before he was found, right?
This is after about 6 to 7 months after they had buried him.
Okay.
They came to me and told me, but I think Highway Patrol, I called Highway Patrol and asked why they didn't put him on civil alert. So I guess everybody I was rising some, tales, and maybe words was getting around, so they just had to tell me where my son was.
Because you weren't going to give up.
I'm not giving up because I'm studying looking for him,
Mm-hmm.
So when you study look for your loved one, you're going to touch somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And they going to start saying, well, hey, this lady is not giving up. So I didn't give up on my son.
Now, he was buried, they said, with ID and everything, though?
Yeah.
Is that right?
When we exhumed the body, after we found out where he was down there behind the county jail, Ben Crump came in and helped me exhume the body and get him a proper grave. And so at that time, they gave him an autopsy, a ground zero paid to get him an autopsy. So when the autopsy they found the wallet with his credit card in there, his ID in there, several cards from the hospital was in there, I mean, all this information was in there. Peel ball. He had all this information on him. It was no reason for them to bury my son in a proper grave. Then I had to pay to get his body back. Because the state owned his body. After they buried him, the state owned the body. So you have to buy the body back from them. Because I don't have no more legal rights to that body.
Well, so do you think they buried him to try to hide the fact that the police officer ran him over and killed him?
Yes, I think because I had the first case with my brother. I already had a case. Now, what are they thinking? We done ran over her son. So
okay.
I'm probably gonna be furious right now. So they not gonna tell me that they killed my son. And only somebody came to the scene of the crime was the wrecker, an investigator in the corner. Anytime you get hit on the freeway, highway patrol, everybody, the ambulance, but then nobody that came forward to say they even saw it on the freeway. So it's still questionable. All of it's still questionable.
So now, did the deputy get arrested for it?
No, ain't nobody they haven't did anything to anybody. That's why I'm studying out fighting. That's why I'm studying out trying to put it out here so people can know this is wrong. This is wrong.
And this happened in 2023.
2023. We 2025.
So about 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
And so why are they not saying that they charging that deputy? Is that deputy still living? Do they know the deputy's name? Who
I'm
did it?
assuming they know who did it. I'm assuming they
And
do.
this happened in Jackson and Hines County.
Jackson, but that's that is the undercover stuff. That is the undercover stuff. They're not gonna tell you that they done killed your child, and then they cover it up. Then they come to you. They can't even come to you and say, "I give you condolence." Nobody from the city have ever came to me and said, "I give you condolence for my brother or my son." I don't get no recognition here.
Wow.
Not none. They didn't even help me get him out the grave. Even they buried him falsely. They didn't even try to help me resume the body and put him in a proper grave. They made me pay for the body.
But it was because of you, though. That's why all of the other bodies got discovered, though.
Yes. If I would have never found my son down there, nobody else would know their child was in that grave down there.
Wow.
And I always remember 672.
Wow.
My son was 672. There's 672 people out there was in that grave.
Wow. So this is a deep story, but I thank you for your resilience. I know it's a lot more to the story.
Yes.
We're gonna put this out and hopefully bring you back another time and tell a little bit more. Hopefully by then we'll have somebody fighting for justice. Is there anything else that you want to let the audience know before you go?
I want the audience to know, always get out and vote in your state. Always let your voice be heard, because the officials that we have in these cities and counties needs to be removed. Learn how to remove them, because they're not doing anything. Because it's more cover-up. This is more cover-up than a police officer hitting somebody. A police officer can't hide that.
Yeah. Well,
It's higher up. Had to be involved.
Okay.
They knew my son. And they knew me. And I'm going to fight for justice until I get justice. And I'm on the boots ground for my son, and I stand in for him, and I am his voice.
Dexter Wade, say his name. Thank you.
Dexter Wade.
Dexter Wade.
Remember George Robinson.
George
I am
Robinson.
their voice.
Dexter Wade. Two black men lost at the hands of police, and I certainly thank you for being the voice of the voiceless. We'll be back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Say their name, George Robinson and Dexter Wade. And shout out to Miss Bettersten Wade for being a voice of the voiceless. My motto was bringing the voice of the voiceless into the minds of the masses. So Miss Bettersten was a voice for her son, Dexter Wade, still is a voice, as well as George Robinson. But she highlighted something as far as the corruption goes. That one police officer who hit her son was not able to conceal his death without help from higher ups. As they stated, he had a pill bottle. He had identification in his wallet, but they wanted to say that he couldn't be identified so they could put his body in this pauper's grave with hopes that his family won't come looking for him. Therefore, the undercover officer or the off-duty police officer who hit him will not be prosecuted. And this happened in Jackson, Mississippi. We've all heard the phrase, there's the South, then there's Mississippi. I had the chance to visit Mississippi earlier in the year, and there is a lot of gloominess, I would say, over that entire state. But, here we have two black men. One was killed by, it looks like, 3 black police officers, and all of those black police officers got off. And it's amazing how, they did convict one of them, but then they overturned the conviction. And in the death of Dexter Wade, nobody has been brought to justice. So it seems, as always, that a black life that is lost at the hands of the police is not of value. But once again, I thank our sister, Miss Wade, for breaking down both cases and highlighting how both of these cases are miscarriages of justice. And, I think she's a very strong woman. I met her and her, her other daughter, her family, and all of the loved ones of Dexter Wade. So I commend them for championing his cause and stay fighting for not only his case, but other cases across the nation. So, Ms. Bettersten Wade, I love you. I love your family. And I'll continue to be a supporter for justice for Dexter Wade and justice for George Robinson. I thank y'all for watching. Y'all see the number 919-587-7782. And as always, peace and blessings.